Praxis. Guys, my name is Kaya. I'm a PlanetSide 1 vet. I never thought I'd see the day that PlanetSide 2 would be made. I'm in my element, I'm back. PlanetSide's probably the best game ever made. It's been 9 years since the first one came out, and I think it goes without saying, some things have changed in the graphics world. This game is badass. Alright guys, feast your eyes on this. This is a brand new graphics engine made by Sony, partnered with Nvidia, called ForgeLight. It is hands down the best looking graphics engine I've ever seen for an MMO. I'm not going to try and spoil this by over talking, but just take a look. It's absolutely gorgeous. This is the continent Indar. It's kind of a mixture of Forstrol, Solsar, and Ishandar, all wrapped into one. It's currently the only continent available on beta at the moment, so all footage you see online, it's all from the same continent. One thing you need to remember is that this is an MMO FPS, none of that 16 player on 16 player minimap kind of thing. This is open world, seamless, 2,000 players per continent cap. These are huge battles we're talking about when this thing goes live. It is safe to say that PlanetSide is back. So I'm making this video for two reasons. One is I need to get the word out on this game. I believe in this game. I want it to do well. I want PlanetSide to go on into the next generation. And I also want to talk about the new changes, things that have been removed, things that have been added, new features. And really I just want to give you a taste of what the beta is like right now. It's constantly evolving. By release it'll be probably a slightly different game. But I want to tell you that it's fantastic, and I just want to share this with you. For anyone that's used to the original PlanetSide 1 graphics, this is a massive step up in the quality of graphics and experience. It is so much more intense, so much more explosive. I just want to remind you that this is beta footage. The optimization isn't quite there. Sometimes my graphics are set to high, sometimes they're set to medium. Still though, I was impressed at how well my computer ran this, considering I was using a GTX 280. Combat in this game is so friggin' fun, it's ridiculous. One of my favorite new things in PlanetSide 2 is the gorgeous day and night cycle. Finally a game that does nighttime right. Nighttime is dark, nighttime requires lights, nighttime is a blast. So in case you forgot or you just didn't know, PlanetSide's got three factions that you can choose from: the Vanu Sovereignty, the New Conglomerate, and the Terran Republic. The Terran Republic are like the militant guys. They believe in order and empire. The Terran playstyle, their weapons, and their vehicles is about volume. They fire more, but their each shot hits for less, so you'll notice that your weapons fire a lot faster than the other empires. The Terran Republic are obviously the good guys, because that's what I play. They've got kind of the Starship Troopers look to their armor, and truthfully the reason I played it in the original PlanetSide was because I like the MCG, which is no longer in the game. The Vanu Sovereignty, or the technology guys, they found some kind of alien artifacts and stole their technology for themselves. Basically, their weapons and their vehicles are completely overpowered. Chances are they lock on, home in, and one-shot everything in sight. Oh yeah, and they probably fly too. The new Conglomerate arsenal believes in hitting for more for each shot. They've got a lot of shotguns and burst weapons. Their vehicles and their weapons hit a lot harder. They get fewer rounds, but each round hurts a lot more. So let's take a look at the new map system. If we open up the map, you'll notice that there's no longer links between bases. The lattice network is no longer there, which means you can actually capture territory without having a link to it. There are benefits to being connected to your territory, but you don't need to have a link to capture something. So you'll notice that the map is divided into hexagons now. These are the territories that you can take over. Using instant action here, we can actually heart drop in. The heart itself, the shuttle, is no longer there. For PlanetSide 1 people, that means the choo-choo train is no longer coming. You just drop in now. I just want to make a note that in any footage that I actually killed somebody, I'd like to show it to you, especially if it's a VS. Bridges are back in the game. For anyone that played the original, bridges were a great environment to encourage hour-long fights, tanks trying to cross, infantry and sniping. Bridge fights were one of the best parts of PlanetSide 1, and I'm glad to see them back in the game. Alright, so this is how you capture bases. There's no longer hacking in the game, there's no longer wrecks, which is something I kind of miss and whatever, but they've adopted a new system where capturing points A, B, C, D, E, F for larger bases and single points for outposts and towers is basically how you capture something now. So you get a bunch of people, you stand beside it, you defend it, and after about 10 seconds you've captured the point. Likewise, you can now defend bases. If an assault on a base is going on too long, after about 15 minutes, the base is locked down for 5 solid minutes before the attacking Empire can try again. So this is how spawning works, guys. You always have your warp gate. Sanctuaries, Empire sanctuaries, have been removed from the game, but the warp gates have been revamped to act as sanctuaries on continents. So every empire has its own warp gate on a continent, and that is your sanctuary. So you always have your warp gate as a spawn point on the continent, in addition to your galaxies and your bases, your facilities. So the warp gate is a safe zone for you to stage your operations, whether it's a tank column or galaxy drops or reloading your weapons and infantry. Some people always like the vehicle fights, some people like to fly, be pilots. Personally, I was always into being an infantry on the ground, and I loved open field fights and loved hunting AMSs. AMSs are gone, guys. For the uninformed, this was the ground spawn vehicle that we used to use to spawn, and it's gone. They've replaced the AMS with galaxies, which is kind of cool because you can spawn at a galaxy and you can move with your squad or your empire that way. But I do miss AMS, and I'm hoping they'll change their mind and get it back in the game. Spawn rooms and bases have changed as well. You can no longer camp spawn tubes the same way that you used to be able to in PlanetSide 1. They're protected by these shields on the floor and on the ceiling so that enemies cannot enter, cannot camp. So one of the new features in PlanetSide 2 is the ability to customize your weapon as you level up. I've got my T9 Carve assault rifle here, and there are two things that I can customize. I can customize an optics category and a utility category. So I'm just going to switch in the night vision infrared, and you can see that it's been added to my weapon, and there you go, for night fights, night vision. I have to say, this is probably one of the more compelling parts of the game as it is right now. you want to level not just to get your weapons unlocked and stuff, but also to unlock modifications to your weapons. Implants have changed quite a bit too. They're no longer permanent things, they're temporary powers. One is a boost, one is a power that you can give to yourself. Things such as reducing timers on like pulling Galaxy, you can reduce the cooldown on that, and also giving yourself faster rate of fire, things like that. These can be purchased from the store with Araxium, which is the in-game currency, and then also Sony points, which cost real money. I'm under heavy assault certifications right now, and these are some of the things that you can spec into, things like med kits, optics, laser dot, we've got all that, rail. These control like cone of fire, bloom, things like that. In addition to your classes and your armors, you can also cert into your vehicles. Obviously, if you're a dedicated tank driver, you can spec all your stuff into that. The command rank is the same. You can spec into squad leader, which unlocks the command rank abilities just like in PlanetSide 1. So everyone has access to cert points. It's just based on how you choose to spend them and where you choose to spend them. It's actually a pretty cool system. I'm not even going to talk about how awesome that was. Flying is obviously still in the game. A couple of things to note: you can now look around your cockpit, which is one of the coolest things in PS2. They've actually changed flight mechanics. Before, you just had to lift off and you could hover in place with pretty much any vehicle, Galaxy, Liberator, Mosquito. But in PS2, you cannot hover. This is to prevent camping of towers, just like in PS1. So how it works is you gain momentum and you keep that momentum as you go forward. And if you slow down, you lose altitude and obviously land. But I guarantee that anybody that flies for the first time in PS2 will crash in about the first 10 seconds. They've changed some of the keybinds by default, and actually what you used to use to elevate is actually the bailout key now. So don't make my mistake. One of PlanetSide's greatest strengths as an FPS and as an MMO was the seamless integration of vehicles, flying and tanks, heavy armor. No other game has it quite as integrated as well as PlanetSide does. The signature PlanetSide tanks are obviously in the game. TR have the Prowler, PS have the Mag Rider, and the NC have the Vanguard. Good to see those back. The sound effects of the cannons in this game is absolutely ridiculous. There is yet to be a game that integrates infantry, air, and land vehicles as well as PlanetSide does. It's completely seamless, and the three of them interact just amazingly. One of the biggest changes to PlanetSide is the class system. Before, you used to go based on armor types. You'd have max, infiltrator, light assault, and heavy assault. And basically what this did was allow you to change your inventory. You could fit different weapons in your weapon slots. Inventory is gone. It's been replaced by classes now. Oh, hang on a second, PS. So medics obviously are the only people that can heal. Engineers can repair vehicles. So every class has its perk, and these perks can be enhanced later down the road with your certification. For example, infiltrators can cloak, but right now, by default, their cloak only lasts a couple seconds. It's not permanent. Maxes don't have an ability other than sprint at the moment, although I'm sure VS Maxes will have the ability to fly. I don't see why they wouldn't add that later. Heavy Assault gets access to the big weapons, and by default, you have a personal shield. Engineers, not only can they repair vehicles, but they can actually drop turrets as well. This is really handy for Galaxy drops because the turrets are very powerful at the moment. So what does this mean if not everyone can heal, not everyone can repair? Basically, the lone wolves in PlanetSide 1 will probably notice this change the most. People that work together in a squad, if you have like 2 medics, 2 engineers, squads are 12 people by the way, you won't even notice a difference because you can combat res, you can do all that stuff. It's the lone wolves that are probably the most screwed, because your only way to get ammo is to either find an equipment terminal, get an engineer to drop you some, or die. There's a new proximity voice system in the game, and it's pretty sweet. Basically, it lets you talk to anybody that's nearby you. It makes for very intuitive and natural communication with your squad or your empire.
Alright, Night Soars, John Connor, Heavy Metal, Bobby Budnick, Kerr 44N. If you guys want squad invites, speak now. It's going to be taken off shortly.
Quite a few things have changed. You can now take fall damage from falling too far, but that is why the light assault now has a jetpack. So if you're a pilot and you plan on bailing out and surviving, you need to be in light assault in order to jetpack away. Sometimes. One of the things that vets are probably going to want to know is, what is it like not having third person? Believe it or not, it's actually okay. I haven't even thought about third person. There is still third person mode when you go into turrets or you're driving a vehicle. There's always a third person option. But as an infantry, in PlanetSide 1, you used to use the third person to sneak around corners or see what's coming around corners. And you actually don't miss it. I have to say, it's not bad without it, guys. One super important thing that I should mention is that knifing is back. Pun intended. They've added jump pads now. Except this one didn't help me. The last thing I'm going to cover are bases. Bases are obviously the focus of the game. They're where the battles take place, they're what you're fighting over. The bases are back, but they're a lot different, they're a lot bigger. They light up completely at night. It makes it look like a city and they look incredible.
Got them on their heels.
Only 3 different types of key bases, those being Tech Plant, Biolab, and Amp Station. But in addition to these bigger facilities, you have the outposts and the towers, which take on unique shapes and make for interesting combat situations. In closing, guys, PlanetSide 2 feels like the matured version of PlanetSide 1. I really think this is probably one of the best games ever made. I'm really looking forward to it, if you couldn't tell. I really want the old outfits, you know who you are. If everyone could just go on like one server when this game goes live, we could have the best server in the world. It's a work in progress, and there's a couple things I could critique, but I just want to hit this with broad strokes. I hope I was able to bring you a good sense of the game and kill a couple of VS doing it. US East 01, you'll find me. Thanks for watching.